Captain Zarathul gripped the command chair as another energy blast rocked the stellar wind. The bridge lights flickered and sparked. 3 of her crew were already dead. The Vorthan Empire ships were closing in fast. "Jump drive is down," reported. Her navigation officer, blue blood streaming from a head wound. "We cannot escape." Zarathul watched the tactical display with growing horror. The Vorthan fleet had destroyed 17 Zephyrian ships in the last hour. Her research vessel was next. She had seen what happened to captured crews. The Vorthans did not take prisoners. They conducted experiments. "Captain, I'm picking up an old signal relay," called out her communications officer from across the smoking bridge. "It's ancient, pre-war construction. Can we use it?" "Maybe. The frequency is still active. But Captain, the signal path leads to an unknown system. The database shows only basic life signs. Primitive species, they barely have space travel." Another blast shook the ship. Hull breach alarms screamed through the corridors. Zarathul made her choice. "Send the message, send it now. Anyone who receives this, please help us. The Vorthan Empire is killing our people. We need military support. We need ships. We need weapons. Our location is..." She rattled off their coordinates. "Please. We are dying." The message shot through space, traveling through jump gates and relay stations across the galaxy. It bounced from system to system, following paths built by civilizations that had been dead for thousands of years. The signal grew weaker with each jump but kept moving. 3 weeks later, the signal reached a small monitoring station on the far side of Earth's moon. Jake Martinez was drinking his 4th cup of coffee when the computer started beeping. He almost ignored it. Most signals from deep space were just cosmic noise or old probe transmissions. But this one was different. It had structure. It had language. "What the hell?" Jake muttered, pulling up the analysis screen. The computer was trying to translate something. The words came out broken at first. Help. Death. Military. Support. Jake sat up straight. He ran the signal through the translation matrix again. This time, more words came through clearly. Empire. Killing. Ships. Weapons. Coordinates. Jake grabbed his comm unit. "This is Luna Base to Earth Defense Command. I need to speak with Admiral Torres right now." "Jake, it's 3 in the morning, came the tired voice of the duty officer. "I don't care what time it is. I just received a distress call from another galaxy. Someone is asking for military help. They're under attack." 20 minutes later, Admiral Lisa Torres was staring at the same translation on her screen at Earth. Defense Command Headquarters in Colorado. She had been woken from sleep, but she was wide awake now. "Run it again," she told her staff. The message played a 3rd time. The translation was getting better as the computer learned the alien language. Patterns. The words were clearer now. "To anyone receiving this transmission, we are the Zephyrian Confederation. The Vorthan Empire has invaded our space. They are destroying our worlds. They kill everyone they find. We need help. We need military ships. We need weapons. Our fleet is scattered. Our people are dying. Please send help to these coordinates. We will share our technology. We will pay any price. Please help us." Dr. Alex Kim arrived an hour later. He was Earth's top expert on alien languages, even though he had never studied a real one before. He spent the rest of the night working on the translation while Admiral Torres made phone calls. By morning, Dr. Kim had decoded most of the message. What he found made his hands shake. "Admiral, this isn't just a distress call. Look at these technical specifications they included. They're describing weapons that can destroy planets, ships that can travel between stars in hours, energy shields that can stop nuclear weapons." Admiral Torres studied the data. "How advanced are they?" "Centuries ahead of us. Maybe more. Their basic science is beyond our best theoretical work. But Admiral, if they're this advanced and they're still losing..." Dr. Kim paused. "What kind of enemy are they fighting?" Torres called President Karen Walsh. Within 6 hours, the president had convened an emergency session of the United Earth Council. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians gathered in the secure conference room beneath the White House. "Chakriyo, "Me understand this," said General Ryan Clark. "Some aliens sent us a message asking for military help. They have technology we can barely understand. And they're losing a war." "That's correct," Admiral Torres replied. "Then what exactly can we do to help them? We have 12 space-capable warships. They're describing fleets of thousands." Dr. Kim spoke up. "General, I don't think they know how primitive we are. Look at the message routing. It was sent through an ancient relay network. The original destination was probably this solar system, but it was meant for whoever lived here thousands of years ago. We just happened to intercept it." President Walsh leaned forward. "Are you saying they contacted us by accident?" "Yes, Madam President. They have no idea who we are or what we're capable of. They just sent out a desperate call for help and we answered." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Torres spoke. "Madam President, we have to do something. The message describes genocide, entire civilizations being wiped out, billions of people." "With what?" General Clark demanded. "Our biggest ship has a crew of 300. We're talking about interstellar warfare against an empire that destroys planets. We have to try," Torres insisted. "We can send a small fleet, reconnaissance mission, see what the situation really is." President Walsh looked around the room. How long would it take to reach them? Dr. Kim checked his calculations. "Using the same relay network that carried their message, about 2 weeks. But Admiral, once we go through that network, everyone in that part of the galaxy will know we exist." "Good," Torres said. "Maybe it's time the galaxy knew about humanity." President Walsh made her decision. "Admiral Torres, you have authorization to send a response fleet. Find out what's happening out there. If these people need help, we'll give them what we can." Nobody in that room understood what they had just set in motion. The Zephyrians had asked for help by mistake. But humanity was about to answer with everything they had. Captain Nick Sullivan stood at attention in the briefing room at Earth Defense Command. Around him sat the commanders of Earth's 12 most advanced warships. Admiral Torres walked to the front of the room carrying a sealed folder. "Gentlemen, ladies, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level," Torres began. 3 days ago, we received a distress call from an alien civilization. They are under attack and facing complete destruction. Commander Beth Parker of the UES Ranger raised her hand. "Admiral, are we talking about first contact?" "Yes, Commander, and we're talking about war." Torres activated the wall display. The translated message played in full. The room fell silent as the alien voice described planetary bombardments, fleeing refugee ships, and systematic genocide. "Jesus Christ," whispered Lieutenant Tony Garcia. "How many people are we talking about?" Based on the data they sent, roughly 40 billion Zephyrians are still alive. 6 months ago, there were over 200 billion. Captain Sullivan felt his stomach drop. "Admiral, what exactly are we supposed to do? Our entire fleet has maybe 5,000 crew members total." "That's what we're here to figure out, Captain." Torres pulled up a star chart. "The alien relay network can get us to their location in 2 weeks. President Walsh has authorized a reconnaissance mission. We need to assess the situation and provide whatever help we can." General Clark's voice came through the comm system from the Pentagon. "Admiral, I want to be clear about something. Earth's military was not designed for interstellar warfare. We're sending everything we have, but it's not much." Commander Parker studied the technical data the aliens had provided. "Look at these energy readings. Their basic patrol ships have more firepower than our entire fleet combined. If they're losing this badly, what chance do we have?" Dr. Kim entered the room carrying a thick folder of translations. "I've been working on more of their transmissions. The situation is worse than we thought. The Vorthan Empire doesn't just conquer worlds, they eliminate entire species. Complete biological extinction." "Why?" asked Captain Sullivan. "From what I can translate, they view other intelligent life as competition for resources. They've been expanding across the galaxy for over 1,000 years. The Zephyrians are just their latest target." Admiral Torres pulled up ship assignments. "Captain Sullivan, you'll command the expedition. Take the Defiance, the Ranger, the Storm, and the Liberty. The rest of our fleet stays here to defend Earth." 4 ships? Sullivan couldn't hide his disbelief. Admiral, we're talking about a war between galactic civilizations. 4 ships is what we have ready for deep space operations. The others need another month of retrofitting. Commander Parker looked at the star charts. What's our mission exactly? We can't fight a galactic empire with 4 ships. Your mission is to make contact, assess the situation, and provide humanitarian aid if possible. If the Zephyrians are telling the truth about their technology, maybe we can learn something that helps everyone. Captain Sullivan stood up. Admiral, permission to speak freely? Granted. This is a suicide mission. We're flying into a war zone where both sides have technology centuries ahead of ours. We'll be lucky if we survive first contact. Torres nodded. You're probably right, Captain. But we can't ignore a genocide happening right in front of us. Sometimes you have to do what's right, even if the odds are terrible. The meeting continued. For 3 hours, they discussed supply requirements, communication protocols, and emergency procedures. Dr. Kim briefed them on what little he understood about alien technology. Every piece of information made the mission seem more impossible. 2 days later, the 4 ships gathered at the edge of the solar system. Captain Sullivan looked out at the ancient alien relay gate that had been activated for the first time in human history. The massive ring structure hummed with energy that Earth's scientists barely understood. All ships report ready, came the voice of Commander Parker over the comm. Defiance to all ships, Sullivan broadcast. In about 30 seconds, we're going to make history. We're also probably going to die. But we're going to help people who need it. That's what humans do. Lieutenant Garcia spoke from the engineering station. Captain, what if we're making a mistake? What if this brings the war to Earth? Sullivan considered the question. Then we deal with that when it happens. But right now, there are billions of people out there who are about to be murdered. We can't just ignore that. The relay gate flashed brighter. Space around the ring began to bend and twist. Sullivan had seen the test runs, but it still looked like magic. Jump in 5 seconds, announced the navigation officer. 4, 3, 2, 1. The 4 human ships vanished into the gate. Meanwhile, 3 star systems away, Captain Zarathul sat in the command center of a hidden asteroid base. The Zephyrian fleet had been reduced to fewer than 300 ships. Most were damaged. All were running low on supplies. Any response to our distress call? She asked her communications officer. Nothing, Captain. It's been 3 weeks. I don't think anyone received it. Zarathul stared at the tactical display showing Vorthon fleet movements. They had surrounded the last 2 Zephyrian colonies. The final assault would begin within days. Keep listening, she ordered. Someone has to answer. Someone has to help us. She didn't know that her desperate message had already been answered. She didn't know that. 4 ships carrying the best of human military technology were racing toward her location. She didn't know that Earth had committed its entire deep space fleet to her cause. Most importantly, she didn't know that the primitive species she had contacted by accident was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The humans were coming, and they were bringing their own ideas about how wars should be fought. The 4 human ships emerged from the jump gate into chaos. Captain Sullivan's bridge crew stared at their screens in shock. The space around them was filled with burning wreckage and energy blasts that lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. My God, whispered Commander Parker over the comm. Look at the size of those ships. Sullivan watched the tactical display. The alien vessels were enormous. The smallest Zephyrian ship was 3 times longer than his destroyer. Their hulls were smooth and crystalline, almost beautiful as they twisted through space in complex patterns. But they were losing badly. The Vorthon ships were different. Dark and angular, they looked like giant insects made of black metal. Energy beams lanced out from their weapons, cutting through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. Every shot seemed to kill or cripple an enemy vessel. Captain, I count 47 Zephyrian ships and 12 Vorthon vessels, reported Lieutenant Garcia from the sensor station. The Zephyrians are getting slaughtered. Any sign they've noticed us? Negative, sir. We're too small. Both sides are focused on each other. Sullivan watched a Zephyrian cruiser explode in a ball of blue flame. escape pods scattered in all directions. Then he saw something that made his blood boil. A Vorthan ship changed course to pursue the escape pods, firing on the defenseless survivors. "That's a war crime," growled Commander Parker over the comm. "It's murder," Sullivan replied. His hands clenched into fists. "All ships, maintain position. We observe and gather intelligence. Do not engage." But, even as he gave the order, Sullivan's eyes tracked another group of escape pods. A damaged Zephyrian hospital ship was trying to reach them, its hull marked with medical symbols that were somehow universal. 2 Vorthon fighters were closing in on the hospital ship, weapons charging. "Captain," Lieutenant Garcia's voice was tight with anger. "They're targeting the medical ship." Sullivan watched the tactical display. The hospital ship had no weapons, no shields. It was just trying to save survivors. The Vorthan fighters opened fire. "All ships engage the enemy," Sullivan barked into his comm. "Protect that hospital ship." "Sir, our orders were to observe," Commander Parker reminded him. "New orders, Commander. We fight." The 4 human ships accelerated toward the Vorthon fighters. Sullivan knew they were revealing themselves to 2 galactic civilizations at once, but he didn't care. Some things were more important than orders. "Weapons free," he announced. "Take them down." The UES Defiance fired first. Nuclear. Missiles streaked toward the nearest Vorthan fighter. The alien ship tried to evade, but human missiles were designed to track fast-moving targets. The first fighter vanished in a flash of atomic fire. The second Vorthon pilot seemed stunned. His ship hung motionless for several seconds, as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Commander Parker's ship, the Ranger, put 3 railgun rounds through his hull. The fighter broke apart in silence. Suddenly, every ship in the battle stopped firing. Both fleets turned toward the 4 small human vessels that had just destroyed 2 Vorthon fighters in less than 30 seconds. "Captain," Garcia reported, "we're being scanned by everyone, and I mean everyone." Sullivan's comm system crackled, with incoming transmissions. Most were in languages the computer couldn't translate yet, but one signal came through clearly. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Zarathul of the Zephyrian vessel Stellar Wind. Please identify yourselves." Sullivan recognized the name from the distress call. "Captain Zarathul, this is Captain Nick Sullivan of the United Earth ship Defiance. We received your message." There was a long pause. When Zarathul spoke again, her voice was filled with disbelief. "You came. You actually came. But your ships, they're so small." "Small but effective," Sullivan replied, watching his tactical display. The Vorthan ships were regrouping, turning toward the human fleet. "Captain, we need to get you out of here. How many survivors do you have?" 700 ships scattered across this system, maybe 50,000 people total. "But Captain Sullivan, you don't understand. The Vorthans have a battle fleet here. Hundreds of ships. You need to run." "We're not running, Captain. We came here to help." Another voice cut into the transmission. This one was harsh and mechanical. "Primitive species. You will surrender your vessels for study or be destroyed." "That's Admiral Krixtoth," Zarathul said quickly. "He commands the Vorthan assault fleet." Sullivan switched to an open channel so both sides could hear him. "Admiral Krixtoth, this is Captain Sullivan of the human fleet. You are committing acts of genocide against the Zephyrian people. Withdraw your forces immediately." Krixtoth's laugh sounded like grinding metal. "Humans. We have no record of your species. Your technology is crude. Your ships are toys. You will be eliminated, along with the Zephyrians." "You're welcome to try," Sullivan replied. The Vorthan fleet began moving toward the humans. 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying planets. Their weapons were already charging for another volley. "Captain," Commander Parker's voice was steady despite the odds. 48 Vorthan ships total now. They're all turning toward us." "Good," Sullivan said. "That means they're not shooting at the Zephyrians." Lieutenant Garcia looked up from his station. "Sir, the Zephyrian ships are moving to support us. Captain Zarathul is bringing her entire fleet. Tell her to stay back. We don't know what human weapons will do in this environment." But it was too late. The space battle resumed with new fury. Vorthon energy beams lanced toward the human ships. Commander Parker's Ranger took a glancing blow that overloaded 2 of her shield generators. Damage. Report, Sullivan called out. Hull breach on Deck 7. We're sealing it now, came Garcia's reply. Captain, their weapons are incredibly powerful, but our shields are holding better than expected. Sullivan smiled grimly. Human military doctrine was simple. Build everything twice as strong as you. Think you'll need, then add more armor. The approach was paying off. All ships concentrate fire on the lead Vorthon vessel. Show them what human weapons can do. The 4 human ships opened fire together. Nuclear missiles, railgun rounds, and plasma bolts converged on a single Vorthon cruiser. The alien ship's shields flared and collapsed. The hull cracked open like an egg. Across the battlefield, both fleets stopped firing again. In 3 minutes of combat, the humans had destroyed 3 Vorthon ships without losing a single vessel. Zarathul's voice came over the comm, filled with amazement. Captain Sullivan, how is this possible? Your ships are so small, but your weapons are designed by a species that's been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Sullivan finished. Captain, we're just getting started. Admiral Lisa Torres stepped onto the bridge of the UES Victory as her fleet emerged from hyperspace. 47 ships spread out in perfect formation behind her flagship. She had left Earth with every available vessel and 20,000 of humanity's best soldiers. Admiral, we're receiving transmission from Captain Sullivan, reported her communications officer. Put him through. Sullivan's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Torres could see smoke and sparks from battle. Damage. Admiral, glad to see you made it. The situation has changed significantly. Report, Captain. We've been engaged with Vorthon forces for 6 hours. 3 of their ships destroyed, 2 more crippled. The Zephyrians are regrouping under our protection. But Admiral, there's something you need to understand about how these people fight. Torres studied the tactical display her fleet was uploading. What do you mean? They fight like gentlemen, Admiral. Rules of engagement, formal declarations, they actually stop shooting when the enemy requests a conference. The Vorthons are exploiting this. And the Vorthons? Brutal but predictable. They rely on superior technology and overwhelming force. They've never faced an enemy that uses deception and improvised tactics. Torres nodded. Understood. We're taking command of the situation. How are the Zephyrians reacting to us? They're grateful but confused. Our ships are tiny compared to theirs, but we're winning battles they couldn't. Captain Zarathul keeps asking how we do it. What did you tell her? Sullivan grinned. That we're human. That seemed to explain everything. 2 hours later, Admiral Torres was in conference with Captain Zarathul aboard the Zephyrian command ship. The alien captain was tall and graceful, with blue skin and large silver eyes. Her ship's interior was beautiful, all curved lines and soft lighting. It looked more like art than military equipment. Admiral Torres, your arrival has saved thousands of lives, Zarathul said through the translation device. But I must ask, how many ships do you have? 47 in this fleet. More are coming. Zarathul's eyes widened. More? Admiral, you've already brought more military vessels than most civilizations possess. How large is your fleet? Torres paused. Captain, how many ships did the Zephyrian Confederation have at the start of this war? Nearly 3,000 combat vessels. The Vorthon Empire destroyed most of them in the first 6 months. We have about 200 ships total. But Captain, our entire civilization is at war now. Every nation on Earth is building more vessels. Every factory is working on weapons. Every person with military training is volunteering. Your entire civilization? Zarathul looked confused. But Admiral, surely your government wouldn't commit all resources to help strangers? Torres smiled. Captain, you don't understand humans very well yet. When we decide something is worth fighting for, we don't hold back. The conference was interrupted by urgent communications. Colonel Sam Taylor's voice came over the comm from his assault ship. Admiral, we've located a Vorthon mining operation on the 3rd planet. They're using Zephyrian prisoners as slave labor. How many prisoners, Colonel? Roughly 10,000. The Vorthons have them working in the mines. Intel suggests they execute anyone who can't work. Torres turned to Zarathul. Captain, what's the normal procedure for prisoner rescue in galactic warfare? Formal request through diplomatic channels. If that fails, we file a complaint with the Galactic Council. How long does that take? Usually several months. Torres activated her comm system. Colonel Taylor, you are authorized for immediate ground assault. Get those people out of there. Zarathul stood up quickly. Admiral, you can't just attack a planetary installation. There are protocols, procedures. Colonel Taylor is already on his way down, Torres replied calmly. On the surface of the mining planet, Colonel Taylor's dropships screamed through the atmosphere. The Vorthans had detected the incoming assault but weren't prepared for human landing tactics. Instead of setting down in clear areas and advancing slowly, the human ships landed directly on top of enemy positions. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos kicked open the door of her transport before it had completely stopped. Her Marines poured out firing automatic weapons. The Vorthan guards had never seen anything like it. Move, 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 Santos shouted. Charlie Squad, secure the perimeter. Delta Squad, find the prisoners. The Vorthans fought back with energy, weapons that could cut through steel. But human tactics confused them. Instead of standing and exchanging fire like civilized species, the Marines used cover, flanking maneuvers, and suppressive fire. They threw grenades around corners and set up crossfires that trapped enemy units. Private Jake Wilson crawled through a ventilation shaft to get behind Vorthan positions. Corporal Lisa Brown used explosives to blow holes in walls, creating new routes of attack. Sergeant Tony Mitchell coordinated mortar fire that forced the Vorthans to abandon their defensive positions. This is insane, one captured Vorthan officer said through his translator. Your species fights without honor. You use terrain, deception, explosives. You attack from multiple directions at once. Yeah, replied Sergeant Santos as she zip-tied his hands. We call it winning. The rescue operation took 4 hours. Colonel Taylor's forces extracted all 10,000 prisoners with only 12 human casualties. The Vorthan garrison was completely destroyed. Back in space, Admiral Torres received a priority transmission from Admiral Crixtoth himself. Human Admiral, your species has violated every principle of civilized warfare. You attack without formal declaration. You refuse to engage in single combat. Your ground forces use ambush tactics and improvised weapons. Admiral Crixtoth, you've been conducting genocide, Torres replied. I'm not interested in your opinion about civilized warfare. We offer single combat between champions to settle this dispute. My best warrior against yours. Torres laughed. Admiral, we don't do single combat. When humans fight, we fight as a unit. Every Marine is trained to work with every other Marine. Every ship captain coordinates with the fleet. That's how we win. Then you are cowards. No, Admiral, we're effective. And right now, we're very angry about what you've done to the Zephyrians. Dr. Helen Ross, working alongside Zephyrian scientists on the command ship, made an important discovery. Human technology was crude compared to alien science, but it was incredibly robust. Zephyrian systems were efficient and elegant. When they broke, they required specialized repair facilities. Human systems were overbuilt and redundant. When they broke, soldiers fixed them with spare parts and improvised tools. Your weapons are fascinating, Dr. Veltar, the chief Zephyrian scientist, told Dr. Ross. They use chemical propellants and kinetic energy. So primitive, yet so effective. We design our equipment for combat conditions, Ross explained. It has to work when it's damaged, when we're out of supplies, when everything goes wrong. And your tactics? Same principle. We assume the enemy will do unexpected things. We plan for chaos. Dr. Veltar studied the human battle reports. Your species has been at war for a very long time. Dr. Veltar, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've learned that the side that adapts fastest usually wins. We've also learned that sometimes you have to fight dirty to protect innocent people. As the day ended, Admiral Torres reviewed the battle reports. Her fleet had destroyed 8 Vorthan ships without losing a single vessel. Ground forces had rescued 10,000 prisoners. The Zephyrian fleet was regrouping and rearming with human weapons, but Torres knew this was just the beginning. Intelligence. Reports indicated massive Vorthon reinforcements heading toward this system. The real test of human military doctrine was yet to come. General Ryan Clark's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a wall of steel and fire. 237 ships spread across space in the largest military formation Earth had ever assembled. Every space-capable nation had contributed vessels. Every shipyard on Earth had been working around the clock for weeks. Admiral Torres watched the tactical display as the third wave of human forces took position. What had started as a small rescue mission had become humanity's largest military deployment in history. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "General Clark is requesting immediate conference." Clark's weathered face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Torres could see the bridge of the massive carrier UES Liberty, packed with officers and displays showing fleet positions. "Admiral Torres, I've brought everything we have. Every Marine division, every fighter squadron, every support ship Earth can spare. What's our situation?" "General, we've broken 3 Vorthon battle groups and rescued over 50,000 prisoners. But intelligence indicates they're bringing their main fleet here. Over 400 ships, including their fortress vessels." Clark studied the reports scrolling across his screen. "How long do we have?" 48 hours, maybe less. Then we'd better make them count." Captain Julie Foster was already deep in enemy territory when the third wave arrived. Her stealth ship, UES Shadow, had been running reconnaissance missions behind Vorthon lines for 6 days. What she had discovered changed everything. "Command, this is Shadow," she transmitted using encrypted channels. "I've located their primary supply depot. It's massive. Fuel, ammunition, replacement parts for their entire battle fleet." Admiral Torres leaned forward. "Location, Captain? Kepler 442c, third moon. It's heavily defended, but the approach routes are limited. If we can take it out, their fleet will be crippled." General Clark's voice cut in. "What kind of defenses are we talking about?" "Orbital platforms, shield generators, about 200, fighter craft. But General, they're not expecting an attack. Their entire defensive doctrine assumes enemies will approach openly and challenge them to formal combat." Torres smiled. "Captain Foster, you're suggesting we hit them where they don't expect it." "Exactly, Admiral. Stealth approach, multiple strike teams, coordinated assault on key targets. Classic human tactics." Dr. Alex Kim had been working with Zephyrian linguists to decode more Vorthon communications. What he found in their military transmissions revealed a critical weakness. "Admiral, I think I understand why the Vorthons are so vulnerable to our tactics," Dr. Kim reported over secure comm. "Their entire military structure is based on honor combat and technological superiority. They've never faced an enemy that uses deception as a primary strategy." "Explain." "Look at their communications patterns. They announce their intentions before attacking. They request formal duels between ship commanders. They even broadcast their fleet movements to show they're not afraid. It's like they're trying to fight a war according to some kind of ancient code." Dr. Helen Ross, working alongside Zephyrian scientists, had made another important discovery. "Admiral, we've learned something interesting about Vorthon psychology. They view warfare as a test of technological advancement. The more advanced civilization should always win. When we defeat them using primitive technology, it shakes their fundamental beliefs." "Are you saying we're winning because we're confusing them?" "Partly, yes, but more than that, we're making them doubt their own superiority. Every time a human ship destroys a Vorthon vessel, it challenges everything they believe about Galactic hierarchy." Captain Foster's strike mission launched 12 hours before the main Vorthon fleet was due to arrive. 24 stealth ships approached the enemy supply depot from 6 different directions. No formal declarations, no advance warnings, no requests for single combat. "All teams, this is Foster," she transmitted as they approached the target. "Remember, we hit fast and hard. Destroy the fuel storage, ammunition dumps, and repair facilities. Leave nothing functional." The attack began at 300 local time. Human ships materialized out of space like ghosts, their weapons already firing. The Vorthon defenders had been expecting a traditional fleet engagement, not a coordinated sneak attack by invisible ships. Commander Paul Anderson led the assault on the main fuel depot. His ship dropped out of stealth directly above the storage tanks and released a full spread of nuclear missiles. The explosion could be seen from orbit. Captain Lisa Wright's team targeted the ammunition storage areas. Instead of engaging the defensive platforms directly, they flew through the facility's own superstructure, using the base's architecture as cover while they planted explosives on critical systems. Lieutenant Maria Garcia coordinated the attack on repair facilities. Her Marines landed directly inside the main hangar and began systematically destroying equipment with shaped charges and thermite grenades. The entire operation took 18 minutes. When the last human ship vanished back into stealth mode, the Vorthan supply depot was a burning wreck. Months of carefully stockpiled resources were gone. Admiral Krixtoth received the damage reports as his main fleet approached the battle zone. His greatest advantage had just vanished in a surprise attack that violated every principle of honorable warfare. "How many ships did the humans use?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. They appeared without warning, struck multiple targets simultaneously, then vanished. Our sensors detected approximately 20 vessels, but they used some form of cloaking technology. Impossible. Cloaking requires enormous energy expenditure. No civilization uses it for routine military operations. The humans do, Admiral." For the first time in his career, Krixtoth felt uncertainty. The human forces had now proven they could strike anywhere, any time, without warning. Traditional Vorthan tactics assumed enemies would fight according to established galactic conventions. These humans seemed to have no conventions at all. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the human fleet has taken position near the Zephyrian refugee ships. They're not advancing to meet us. They're making us come to them." Krixtoth realized. "They want to fight near the refugees, so we can't use our heavy weapons without risking civilian casualties. It's tactically sound, Admiral. They're forcing us to limit our own firepower." Krixtoth studied the tactical display. The human fleet was smaller than his, but they had already proven that size didn't determine victory. Worse, they had somehow convinced 6 other alien species to join their coalition. Species that had been neutral in the war were now providing ships in support to the human cause. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Torres appeared on his screen. "Admiral Krixtoth, I'm offering you one chance to withdraw your forces and end this conflict peacefully." "You would negotiate?" Krixtoth was surprised. "After attacking our supply lines like pirates?" "Admiral, we're not pirates. We're soldiers protecting innocent people." The Zephyrians asked for help and humanity answered. "We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it. Your fleet is outnumbered 2-1. Torres smiled. "Admiral, you should know by now that humans don't calculate odds the same way. Other species do. When we decide something is worth fighting for, numbers don't matter." "Then you choose destruction over surrender?" "We choose to fight for what's right." "Admiral, your empire has been committing genocide for 1,000 years. That ends now." Krixtoth cut the transmission. Around him, his officers prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history. But for the first time since the war began, the Admiral was not confident of victory. The humans had already changed the rules of warfare too many times. In the human fleet, Admiral Torres gave her final orders. "All ships prepare for engagement. Today we're not just fighting for the Zephyrians. We're fighting to show the galaxy that genocide will not be tolerated. Make Earth proud." The two fleets moved toward each other across the dark of space. The fate of billions hung in the balance. The final battle began at dawn on the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Krixtoth's massive fleet moved forward in perfect formation, 400 ships arranged in the traditional Vorthan battle pattern. Each vessel was a masterpiece of dark engineering, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Torres watched them approach on her tactical display. Her combined fleet looked small by comparison. 500 human ships, 300 Zephyrian vessels and supporters from 8 other species. But Torres had learned something important over the past weeks. In space warfare, it wasn't the size of your fleet that mattered. It was how you used it. "Admiral," Captain Sullivan reported from his position on the left flank, "the enemy is maintaining standard approach vectors. They're expecting us to meet them head-on." Are we going to disappoint them, Captain? Absolutely, Admiral. Torres activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, execute Plan Chaos. Let's show them how humans really fight. The human fleet scattered like a flock of birds. Instead of maintaining formation, each ship group moved independently toward different targets. The Vorthons had never seen anything like it. Their tactical computers couldn't track so many separate attack patterns. Captain Julie Foster's stealth squadron struck first. 24 invisible ships materialized inside the Vorthon formation and began firing at point-blank range. Enemy shields collapsed under surprise attacks from weapons they couldn't see coming. Impossible! Admiral Krikstoth shouted as 3 of his heavy cruisers exploded without warning. No civilization fights this way. Commander Paul Anderson led his destroyer squadron in a flanking maneuver that took them completely around the Vorthon fleet. Instead of attacking the main force, they targeted supply ships and command vessels hiding in the rear. Within minutes, the enemy fleet had lost its logistics support and half its communication links. But the most devastating attack came from an unexpected direction. Captain Lisa Wright had spent 2 days positioning her ships inside the asteroid field that surrounded the 4th planet. When the Vorthons passed through the field, Wright's forces attacked from within the rocks themselves. All ships, fire everything, Wright ordered. Nuclear missiles erupted from hidden positions among the asteroids. Railgun rounds streaked through space from concealed bunkers. The Vorthons found themselves under attack from what they thought was empty space. Admiral Krikstoth watched his formation dissolve into chaos. His ships were fighting in dozens of separate engagements instead of one coordinated battle. Human tactics had turned his advantage into a disadvantage. Admiral, we're taking heavy casualties, his tactical officer reported. The humans are attacking from 17 different directions simultaneously. How many ships have we lost? 63 destroyed, 41 crippled. And Admiral, they're using the asteroids as cover. Our targeting systems can't lock onto them. On the bridge of the UES Victory, Admiral Torres coordinated the battle like a chess master. Every human ship captain had been trained in independent operations. They didn't need constant orders from command. They saw opportunities and took them. Admiral, the Zephyrian fleet is requesting permission to engage, her communications officer reported. Tell Captain Zarathul to wait for my signal. When the Vorthons try to regroup, we'll hit them with everything. The Vorthon fleet was indeed trying to regroup. Admiral Krikstoth ordered his remaining ships to form a defensive sphere around his flagship. It was a classical formation designed to provide mutual support and concentrated firepower. Now, Torres whispered. The Zephyrian fleet, armed with human weapons and trained in human tactics, struck the Vorthon formation from above and below simultaneously. Energy beams and nuclear missiles converged on the enemy sphere from every angle. But the real surprise came from General Clark's Marines. Instead of fighting a traditional space battle, Clark had loaded his troops into boarding pods and launched them directly at Vorthon ships. This is Marine Force 1, Clark reported as his pod streaked toward the enemy flagship, beginning boarding operations. The Vorthons had no defense against direct assault boarding. Their ship designs assumed combat would happen at long range with energy weapons. They had never considered that an enemy might actually land troops inside their vessels. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos kicked down the airlock door of her boarding pod and led her squad into the Vorthon ship. The enemy crew was tall and intimidating, but they had no experience with close combat. Human Marines did. "Move, move, move," Santos shouted, firing her assault rifle down the corridor. "Charlie Team, secure engineering. Delta Team, take the bridge." The fighting inside the Vorthon ships was brutal and one-sided. The aliens were stronger and faster than humans, but they fought like individuals. Human Marines fought as coordinated units, using cover and teamwork to overwhelm superior opponents. Corporal Jake Wilson tossed a grenade around a corner to clear a defended position. Sergeant Lisa Brown used her combat knife to take down a Vorthon officer in hand-to-hand combat. Private Tony Mitchell set explosive charges on critical systems throughout the ship. Within an hour, General Clark's Marines had captured or crippled 30 Vorthon vessels from the inside. It was a type of warfare the Galactic empires had never imagined. Admiral Krikstoth found himself trapped on his own bridge as human soldiers fought their way through his flagship. His personal guards had fallen to enemies who used tactics that seemed impossible. They attacked through ventilation shafts, used explosives to blast through walls, and coordinated their movements with radio communications. "Admiral, we've lost contact with most of our fleet," his remaining tactical officer reported. "The humans have boarded 80% of our ships. How many do we have left? Perhaps 50 vessels still under our control. Admiral, we must withdraw." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Krikstoth ordered a retreat, but even that proved impossible. Human ships had positioned themselves around every escape route. Captain Foster's stealth squadrons appeared whenever Vorthan ships tried to run. The final blow came from an unexpected source. Dr. Alex Kim, working with captured Vorthan communication equipment, had learned to mimic their command frequencies. He began broadcasting false orders throughout the enemy fleet. "All Vorthan vessels, this is Admiral Krikstoth," Kim transmitted in perfect Vorthan. "Surrender immediately. The humans have superior technology. Resistance is futile." The deception worked. Confused and demoralized, Vorthan ships began powering down their weapons and requesting terms of surrender. Within minutes, the mighty Vorthan battle fleet had collapsed completely. Admiral Krikstoth himself was captured when Sergeant Santos and her Marines took control of his flagship's bridge. The proud Vorthan commander found himself facing a human, female who was half his size but had defeated his entire security force. "Admiral Krikstoth," Santos said through her translator, "by the authority of the United Earth military, you are under arrest for war crimes and genocide." "This is impossible," Krikstoth protested. "Your species is primitive, your technology is crude. How did you defeat us?" Santos smiled. "Admiral, we've been fighting wars since before we had space travel. We've learned that the best technology doesn't always win. Sometimes the most determined soldiers do." 3 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered aboard the UES Victory to witness the signing of the Galactic Peace Accords. The Vorthan Empire agreed to withdraw from all conquered territories and pay reparations to survivor populations. Captain Zarathul stood beside Admiral Torres as they watched former enemies sign agreements that would reshape galactic civilization. "Admiral, when I sent that distress call, I never imagined it would reach anyone like you. Captain, humanity has a saying, be careful what you ask for. You asked for help. We brought our entire military." Dr. Helen Ross presented her final report on human military effectiveness to the assembled alien diplomats. "Ladies and gentlemen, humanity's success in this conflict was not due to superior technology. It was due to superior tactics, training, and determination. Most importantly, it was due to our willingness to fight for principles rather than territory." The conference concluded with the establishment of the Terran Defense Coalition. Admiral Torres was appointed as its first commander, with authority to intervene anywhere in the galaxy where genocide or aggressive warfare threatened civilian populations. As the various fleets prepared to disperse, Admiral Torres received a priority message from Earth. President Walsh appeared on her screen with a smile. "Admiral, congratulations on your victory. How soon can you return home?" Torres looked out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships working together to establish refugee camps and humanitarian aid stations. "Madam President, I think we're needed out here. The galaxy is a big place and there are a lot of people who might need our help." "Understood, Admiral. Earth is proud of what you've accomplished." Torres cut the transmission and turned to Captain Sullivan. "Nick, what do you think? Ready to be the galaxy's police force?" Sullivan grinned. "Admiral, we came out here to help one species in trouble. Turns out the whole galaxy was in trouble. Somebody needs to keep the peace."